Okay, so hello everyone. Today I'm going to teach you guys what is displacement map and how to use it in Blender. And you can use it in both Eevee and cycles. So right now I have what is displacement map? Well, displacement map is basically taking an image from its darkest place to its brightest place, and the brighter it is, the more height you have on the z-axis. So it's basically using an image and displacing a object like a plane on the z-axis. And see, like this is the preview of this displacement map. So as you can see, like the white part it's the mountain, while the darker part it's just almost no displacement happening. And I have other examples such as this one. Like you can visualize it like that part. It's like this. And so how do we exactly use it in Blender? Well, it's actually quite simple. So I'm just going to choose a random one such as this one. So I'm going to download it. Okay, after it's downloaded, then I'll go to move it to desktop and then go into Blender now. So let's just start a new one. So first of all, we're going to do this in Eevee, and you don't need to turn anything on right now. And go to add a plane. So for displacement, you have to have lots of geometry. So actually, I'm just do a simple one right now. So if I don't have any geometry, I add a displacement modifier, which right here under deform, and add a new texture. Press show texture in texture tab. This thing you should drop you to here. Now you can choose a lot of like picture or texture to displace this plane, but we have a texture, so I'm just going to find it, and I think it's this. Yeah. So open that up, and right now you can't really see anything because it has no geometry to work with. So first of all, in Eevee, the best way is first of all go into tab, subdivide it a bit. I'll give it 20 cuts. And we can see some happening, but we need to add subdivision surface. So increase, like, make sure it's in front of it, so it has more geometry to work with. And increase, and sometimes the displacement map is really weak, so you have to add a lot of strings to it. There, like, this is just a simple displacement. If you don't like how pointy it is, just lower the strings. And you can always increase the subdivision surface scale. And the more you like give it a sharper and less blocky the whole thing will be, you can also just go into edit and subdivide it. And now we have our mountain. And I'm going to increase the scale, and uh like remember that displacement take a lot of your memory. And like this is how you do displacement in Eevee. And the thing, if you apply it, or just like simple showing edit, you can actually edit the displacement right here. So I can move it, tweak this place a bit, but not too much, or it'll cause some like overlapping like this. You can just like do minor detail changes such as bringing this one Z and you can edit the whole displacement. Yeah, and this is how you do it in Eevee. And we could do it in cycles. In cycles, you get a lot better result because right now we can still do the same thing as shown in Eevee, but we could also do some micro displacement or vector displacement. So first, I'm going to show you how to do vector displacement. So go into shading. Yeah, so it's actually in a material. And make sure you're in cycles. Now I'm just going to switch to GPU compute for faster render, but it all works. And let's add a new material. So do you see this displacement? That's where you make the displacement happen in cycles. So you can first add a displacement map. Plug the displacement into displacement. Nothing is happening because we do not have any color info to show where it should be displaced. So add an image texture, open up our displacement map, plug the color into the height, and still don't see anything because remember, we have to have geometries to work with. So you can always just like subdivide it, and how about let's give it 20 times. And I'll do the same thing. So again, add subdivision surface and give it some strings. And we still do not see anything because it's vector displacement. So it's actually displacing it during the render time. So we have to switch to render view. So it's just loading kernels. Just wait a few seconds. Sometimes it could take a long time for it to load like the render kernels because it depends on like how big is your scene. And let me rephrase that. Not how big, but like how much info does it have to process before it's loaded in and you can work with it. So for right now, it's actually loading the displacement kernels. And as you can see, it's loaded in. And you can see some micro displacement. But do you see anything like it's still not displacement? It's giving that bump feeling. That's because you have to go into the material, go down to settings, displacement. We're on bump only, so we have to change it to displacement only or displacement on and bump. So I'm just going to use displacement only and see what happens. It's actually displacing it now. So make sure drop the mid level to 1. I'm just going to do it right here. So we're given some results. So increase the scale. And there, the same result. And you can always like give a higher resolution too. And like why I don't like vector displacement, it has one count, so you cannot edit. Like it's hard to edit without like messing like too much because you can't really know like where are you like changing it, so you actually have to kind of like imagine how the dots will be like on the shape. Oh, there's also one pro about it. So we can do, let's delete this one, landscape, and add a noise texture. This is the best for what I'm going to demonstrate, which is procedural displacement. So still nothing. So if you have no wrangle around, press Ctrl T, or just go add a texture coordinate and a mapping. Remember to plug the generated into the vector. And let's mess around with the mesh. And see, so we have some displacement going, and you can always like cancel some of it out by adding a colorant. Always get that one wrong. So can just mess with it. And you can always generate new scene. Let's turn on the detail. And yeah. And then where the procedural happens, because go to locations, it's generated vector, so move around and it'll generate a new place. Like it has infinite number of possibilities on how like you should look. You can also increase the scale, like increase the Z scale, and you can build taller mountains. And yeah, that's how you do vector displacement in cycles. And there's another one in cycles, which is an experimental feature, which is called micro displacement. So go to cycles, GPU compute, choose experimental sets. Now, if you go to add a modifier, go to subsurface, you see this. Adaptive subdivision. Press it, and what is doing, I'll get into it in another video. But like for now, it's just basically taking how much far away it is from your camera and give it optimal subdivision for better performance, and you can get some really micro displacement happen. So let's do the same thing. So add a displacement and get our image texture. Open out our displacement image and plug into height and change it to displacement. And by the way, like sometimes I get people saying that like it's not looking correctly. That's because sometimes you have to change the color space from sRGB to non-color data. In there, like it should process it like better. And this is micro displacement, so you can see it's a lot more smoother than others. And dicing scale means like how much resolution do you want. Like the less it is, the better the resolution is. And there's our displacement. So there's no chunky part of it, so it's really good. Except for sometimes the light is a bit weird right here. Like I'm not sure about it right now, but I think it's because sometimes if you change it to displacement bump, like you solve some of the light problems, but you add all those like new bumps, which like it happens like really good down here, but when it's like really tall and vertical, it's not that good. But if you like the visual of like those line shapes, I don't know how to call it, like those mountains, you can definitely choose it. And that's how you do all the displacement method in Blender. And personally, I kind of just like this one for some of like a big scene. And for a small object, I'm just going to use a simple displace. And yeah, this is how you do it. So in the next video, I'm going to showcase how to make a mountain, like realistic mountain out of this. I will use the same displacement map, like around here. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.